Welcome back to this week's edition of Coach's Corner. I'm Cody Vetter, joined by head football coach, Coach Scott Benzel. Coach, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we get into our interview, we're going to throw back to last week's contest.
Westminster taking on Teal, coming right out of the gate. First play of the game, Tate Beachy with a major touchdown. Special teams getting it done for the Titans as well. Look at this guy, Elijah Grayer, going down the sideline. See you later. Huge return, setting Westminster up real well. Quarterback Ty McGowan was on today. On this play, he finds Jalen Royal Eland in the end zone, putting the Titans up 14-0. The defense came to play as well, stuffing the Tomcats all day. Titan offense continues to click. Coming up, Ryan Gomes squeaking into the end zone. We're going to talk to him in a couple minutes here. But another huge play, putting the Titans up 21-0. Lane Voida getting some reps as he hits Chevy Dawson, who then runs for another touchdown, putting Westminster up 28-0. Teal finally able to get on the board as Chase Lawler sneaks it in. However, a big win for the Titans. Final score, 28-7.
Welcome back in the studio. Coach, thanks for being here. How are we doing?
We're doing good, man.
So first, I just want to talk about, obviously, you guys didn't get off to the right start with that loss to Grove City, but you bounced back last week. How important of a win was that early in the season against another PAC team?
Yeah, it's everything. You know, you got to get off the dub, and left a bad taste in our mouth week one. So it was good to see us bounce back, especially at home.
So you guys put up 28 points on offense and only held Teal to 7. Can you kind of talk to me about how good it is as a coach and how important it is to see both sides of the ball firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, I think if we want to be the team that we need to be, you got to play complementary football. So you need all three phases, actually. So special teams is a big part of that as well. So, yeah, it was good to see. We had some success on offense, particularly early. Defensively, we were able to limit them for the most part. There's some things we still got to get, we got to get better at. So we're working on it.
So I want to talk about a few players quick. Obviously, linebacker Matthew Petruzzi won Newcomer of the Week. Can you kind of talk to me about how his early this season has been for him, as a young guy? That's a pretty big honor to get as a freshman coming in. So can you kind of talk how he's exceeded the expectations and what this season looks like for him down the road?
Yeah, I think Matt physically has all the tools that you want. He's a big kid, very good athlete, tough. He's going to be a really good player for us moving forward. He's still really raw. I mean, there's things that he's doing, you scratch your head, and, he's got to get better, and he knows that. But he's very coachable. He wants to compete. He wants to contribute, and, he's got good energy, too. And that's the one thing, when you play a lot of young guys, sometimes the trade-off is lack experience, but they give you great energy, and he does that.
So moving it over on the offensive side, Ty McGowan was WKBN's player of the game against Teal. So can you kind of talk to me about, as a coach, how do you help someone like him, a young guy, improve from such a great game?
Yeah, I don't think I have to do anything with Ty. He's a natural. He's a gamer. I'm a huge fan of Ty McGowan. I saw it last year when he got a chance to play. He did such a good job for us. I promise you, Cody, he's only going to get better and better and better. He's just that type of guy. Even when he does things that, you scratch your head and say, mistakes, he doesn't get down on himself. I don't know it must be in the water and moon, because that's how Cole was, and, we're really, really excited about him.
So obviously there's been injuries a little bit in the beginning of the season. So can you kind of talk to me about that next man up mentality? Obviously, they're too deep, the rosters is changing a lot. Positions are changing every day. So can you kind of talk to me about, as a coach, where that takes you and that next man mentality in the locker room?
It's just part of football. It's not a pleasant, I love everything about football except the injuries. You look at young guys and you lose them for the season, or you lose them for 4 or 5 games. It's tough because you know how hard they work and you know all the things they're doing. I've been there. I remember my junior year in college, I lost 4 games due to injury too. So all you can do is you can just keep moving on. That's why recruiting is such a huge piece of college football, because you understand the injuries and you understand that you're going to have depth. Our depth is being very tested, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. we're just going to do the best we can and put the guys out there, and they're going to make mistakes, but we got to live with them and coach them up and get them better.
So kind of hitting more on that depth, right? When you have to make a position switch last minute, let's say something happens in the week, you have a game coming up. What goes into that thought process? Is it just during practice, or is it there's other things that go into that process to picking someone who could potentially replace a starter?
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do is you try to play your best 11 regardless of position, because I think you get in trouble when you say, oh, well, he's not, quote unquote, a linebacker, or he's not a defensive back. For example, at least on defensively, you just try to find the next best player and you make it work. That's our jobs as coaches. So that's our mentality. Again, because of some of the moving parts, we're not a finished product, and we've got a lot of things that we're working on. And offensively, we're installing a little bit of a different offense as well. So we're still, we're still in the lab, so to speak. We're still working at it. And I feel confident, though, that we're doing all the right things.
So with some of those position changes, is it kind of a hard conversation to have with some of those guys saying, hey, we're going to move you somewhere else? Or is it just kind of like, you know what, this is what we got to do? And how do guys particularly respond to something like that?
Some respond great, some don't. The 2023 modern athlete is a little different. Back in my day, yes, coach. It doesn't matter what they ask you to do. And that's just the reality of it. You've got to explain to them how they fit in the puzzle more than just the team. The team needs you. You got to say, well, we like your skill sets, and we think you're going to be able to do this, and that. I will say this. When you move guys, though, you've got to give them opportunities, because if you move them and they sit, then they get disenfranchised and they get frustrated. So you try to get them in, at least in practices, and get them some film.
So let's look forward now to Saturday. WJ, obviously a big game. It is every year. Even if it's not football, it's always Westminster WJ, always a huge game. So obviously they've had a pretty good start. When you go through a week knowing that you are facing a team of their stature, like, how do you prepare for that? What's the mentality going into this game?
In the past, it was just all you had to do was say it's W&J, and our guys went, nuts for it. They know how to play this team. This year seems a little different. We've got so many new faces. I don't think they quite understand the level of intensity that's awaiting for them. And how do I prepare them for that? I don't know. That's to be honest to God truth. Like, they're going to find out. If we don't go down there and we don't have our heads screwed on and we're not ready to roll, they'll roll us. That's a talented team. They're on both sides of the ball, loaded, and we better show up, and we better play with an attitude and an edge that. I'm looking to see how our Titans compete, because, like I said, this is a new batch of guys, and we need to see them get after it.
So that W&J offense, I just want to hit on particularly quick. 92 points in the first 2 games, right? That's pretty good if you ask me. And throughout the week at practice and even the whole year, because it's such an early game, what is your message to the defense, Ben, about going against an offense that has been pretty good so far?
Yeah, I liken it to, like, if you're going to go and pick a fight with the biggest, toughest guy in the room, you better get after him, and you better get after him quick. So they're very good. They're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. They're pounding teams that they're better than, and so they're very confident. My message to our defense is we are not backing down. We are going to attack them and come at them. And I like that. I think that helps our guys get off to a better, quicker start. So that's the message. We're looking to get after these guys.
So speaking of a better, quicker start, my next question to you is, which often gets overlooked by fans and everybody else, how do you come out firing, and how important is that to get a good start against this team?
I think it's everything, especially on the road. Ironically enough, our last 2 games, opening drives, we've scored. So we've started really, really well, but I think emotionally, you've got to be more invested here. I hate to say this, but I wouldn't mind seeing us be a little more chippy than normal, because I think we need to get that emotion, because that's going to be a big part of how we have success down there on Saturday.
Coach, I ask you this every week. What are those 3 keys to victory?
Number one, on our defensive side of the ball, you can't give up the big play. You got to make them earn it. They have such big play capability that if they drive it, you tip your hat and say, hey, look, come out next series and do it again. Offensively, I think we have to get after them. I think we've got to – they're very, very good front, but I think we got to get, right in them, attack their front versus back off and try to, trick them, so to speak. And then the third key to me is in these big games, this is how you make a reputation. They talk about you for years when you say, oh, hey, you remember this guy. So our best players have to play their best game.
Well, Coach, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Good luck this weekend. Coming up next on Coach's Corner, Marcus Tokar, Ryan Gomes, Kevin Fenstermacher, Pack Report, and more, so stay tuned. Welcome to the PAC Football Report covering games on September 16th, 2023. I'm Cody Vetter. This week, we'll take a quick look back at Week 2 action in the President's Athletic Conference while also previewing Week 3 contests this coming Saturday. Week 2 of PAC football action saw 3 teams defending champion Carnegie Mellon, Grove City, and Washington and Jefferson each improve to 2-0 with league wins. The Tartans posted their second straight shutout, blanking visiting St. Vincent 38-0. Grove City overcame an early deficit to win at Waynesburg 43-27, while W&J rolled past Bethany 42-7. In other action, the game of the day was in Meadville, where a goal line interception in the closing seconds clinched a 27-21 road win for Geneva at Allegheny. Finally, Westminster got its first win with a 28-7 home victory over Teal. Case Western Reserve had the weekend off. PAC Player of the Week honors for Week 2 went to junior quarterback Jacob Pugh from W&J on offense, senior defensive back Kevin Arcia of Carnegie Mellon on defense, and Grove City senior kick returner Gabe Dunlap on special teams. Earning PAC Newcomer of the Week laurels was Westminster freshman linebacker Matthew Petruzzi. Week 3 again features 5 conference matchups. Highlighting the early games is a matchup of traditional conference powers as 1-1 Westminster visits 2-0 Washington and Jefferson at Cameron Stadium in Washington at 1 p.m. W&J has dominated the all-time series with the Titans 37-7, but the Presidents had dropped 4 straight meetings against Westminster before posting a 17-14 win in New Wilmington last season. Presidents head coach Mike Sirianni talks about the challenges of facing a constantly evolving Titans defensive unit.
We're doing like a 4 or 5 game breakdown on them, and they're doing different things in all 4 or 5 games. They never stay the same. They're moving, they're twisting, they're stunting, they're playing this coverage, they're playing that coverage, they're disguising things, and that's why they've been one of the top defenses, not just in the PAC, but probably in the country in the last 5 years.
Another huge league showdown takes place under the lights in Cleveland as 2-0 Grove City travels to face 1-0 Case Western Reserve at DeSanto Field at 7 p.m. Case holds a 5-2 series advantage over the Wolverines. However, Grove City prevailed against the Spartans a year ago with a narrow 14-13 home victory. For Spartan head coach Greg Debelak, having the bye week in Week 2 allowed his squad extra time to prepare for this week's key matchup.
We use the bye week to prepare for Grove City, to tell you the truth. Sometimes we use it just to get better or heal, but we're definitely preparing for Grove City and their looks, and we feel it's going to be a great challenge, and they're a very, very solid football team in all 3 aspects of the game.
After starting the season with losses to the top 2 teams in the PAC preseason poll, 0-2 St. Vincent hopes to get on track at home Saturday as the Bearcats host 1-1 Allegheny at Chucknell Field in Latrobe. It is only the 3rd all-time meeting on the gridiron between the programs. Prior to last year's 52-35 Bearcat victory, the programs last met in 1929 when the Gators recorded a 28-6 win over St. Vincent. Bearcat head coach Aaron Smetanka talks about the keys to victory for his squad on Saturday against Allegheny.
Yes, going back from Allegheny's team, the first 2 weeks they played really well, being very honest. I think they're a completely different team than they were last year. Seeing it just from every phase of the game that they've been playing, whether it be from the teams and the special teams, offense or defense. They've done some really good things here, helping change around. And
in other Week 3 action, 2-0 Carnegie Mellon remains home at Gessling Stadium in Pittsburgh with a 1 p.m. kickoff against 0-2 Waynesburg. The Tartans lead 14-5-1 in the all-time series between the program, which dates back to 1907. Last season, the Yellow Jackets gave the unbeaten Tartans a scare before CMU prevailed 27-20. Finally, 2 teams in search of their first win battle in Greenville when 0-2 Teal hosts 0-2 Bethany at Alumni Stadium at 1 p.m. It's the 78th meeting between the programs dating back to 1917, with the Bison narrowly leading the all-time series against the Tomcats 40-36-1. That's all for this edition of the PAC Football Report. Please log on to the conference website at www.pacathletics.org all season long for the latest news, scores, statistics, and other league information. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. Links are available at the PAC website. I'm Cody Vetter. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the stadium.
Hello, everybody. I'm Austin Downs here with Kevin Fenstermacher, Deputy Athletic Director of Communications here at Westminster. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm good, Austin. Thanks. You almost got the title. There's a lot of words in that title. You did pretty. I give you a 90.
And administration as well.
It's a lot of words.
It is. So today we're going to talk about Kevin. We're going to talk to him pretty much about how he got started, why he chose this type of field, why he's at Westminster, and gets some information about his experience with the PAC. So Kevin, tell us how'd you get started and kind of tell us what you really do. I know it has to do with media, but kind of give us more detail.
It has a little bit to do with everything. But, I mean, Cliff Notes version, Bethany College graduate, sports management major, way back when. I was not a great student. Economics, particularly managerial economics, was kind of my downfall. And I had to pivot really quickly back then. Pivoted to sports communication and kind of just fell in love with it back in kind of like the early 2000s. Got a graduate assistant job out of Bethany up in the State University of New York system at a college at Oneonta. They had a Division I men's soccer program, super successful Division III women's soccer program. And it was just, I knew that that's kind of something I could see myself in for the future. A lot of friends got into business, got into logistics, got into management, stuff like that. And it was, they all have cool jobs. It's kind of 9 to 5. It's kind of just check in, check out. And I was looking for something a little bit more. And that's kind of, I ended up at Teal for about 12 years, took on a bunch of different roles there, learned from some really amazing people. They gave me the freedom to kind of try different things. And tried some administrative stuff, got to travel quite a bit, NCAA conventions, and then went to work for the PAC for 10 years. One of my dearest friends, the commissioner, Joe Onderko, who is also tied to Westminster. I don't know if you know that or not, but he was the sports information director here years and years and years ago. So went to work with him, totally remote. No brick and mortar office for the President's Athletic Conference. We worked from home. Really liked that, enjoyed getting to know all the coaches across the conference, student athletes, planning different events. But then COVID happened, and after that was really deciding I wanted to get back on a campus, be around people, and Jason Leonard, the athletic director at Westminster, and I talked a little bit and ended up here. And here we are 8 months later and loving every minute of it.
So you were talking about, being with the PAC for so long.
Yeah.
Is there a certain experience you had that really stands out or something you really like to do there?
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad. Like the field that we're in, not everything is celebrating victories, which is the most fun. Thomas More College, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were in the conference they were in Northern Kentucky. The college is still there. They're no longer members of the PAC, but they had some really successful women's basketball programs, national championships. So Joe and I would travel to those and go and see those events, those national championships. The coolest event for me was we hosted the Division III women's basketball Final Four in the national championship down at Duquesne right after COVID. I mean, it was, we all say that we work so long literally we were working like 21 hours a day for a week, like getting the best of the best teams ready to come in and compete and play for a national championship. So that was really cool. A lot of work. It was on CBS. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, but that was neat.
It does sound pretty cool doing that. And then my next question to you is, why Westminster? Why come here? And then also want to ask you like a follow-up to that. What are you trying to bring to Westminster?
Yeah. Why Westminster is, all I know is the private, small, liberal arts colleges. Bethany guy, Teal guy, PAC guy, Westminster guy. That pull to Division I that people feel, or Division II, or bigger schools, whatever, it just never really got me. I'm comfortable in the environment that we're in right now. not everybody gets to do what I'm doing right now. You know, it was 11:30 on a Thursday. We've got a football game coming up, and people are pretty anxious, but I have the ability to come up here and sit with you at 11:30 and talk sports, talk about you, talk about me. So I enjoy having that kind of opportunity on a campus like this. Dr. Richardson is a big part of why I'm here. I really believe in kind of her vision for a college like this. Spent a lot of time with her throughout my time with the PAC. Jason Leonard, you know, he's a really tough manager, but he's fair and he wants the best for all of our student athletes. And then all of the coaches. I went to college with Coach Scott, the women's basketball coach, so we've known each other forever. Coach Swearingen, I've known forever. So it's kind of just like its own little family, and that's really enticing for me.
Having that small brand, you kind of gravitate towards that more than the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of my last question to you is more so about a legacy and kind of what you want to leave behind and be remembered for after it's all said and done. I kind of want to know what
That's a great
that is
question.
to do.
I mean, there's no real easy answer, but for me, and it's as you get older, you kind of start to think about things like that. Like, I hope my message resonates with the students. I think I'm a pretty good advocate for our student athletes. I think I'm a shoulder whenever they need to talk about just about anything. And even the relationships that I've developed with student athletes just in my short time here, there's been some really good ones. It's a really small campus, but it's a campus who I think is really tied together. There's always going to be students don't support this particular sport or that sport, but these students here, like, they support each other, and that's really meaningful to me. And if I can be a small part of that, it makes me feel really good.
Well, I want to thank you, Kevin. I want to thank you for coming here and talking to me. Any other thoughts you have?
No, be sure to come out and support the Titans. I know they work really hard. There's some guys in this room right now that are student athletes, and every game you can get out and watch them compete in is a big deal for all of us.
Well, thanks again, Kevin. I'm Austin Downs here with Kevin Fenstermacher. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner. I'm Marcus Tokar with running back Ryan Gomes. Ryan, how are you today, man?
Good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. We appreciate you coming on.
Always.
So my first question, obviously we're 2 games into the season, coming off a good win against Teal. Offense was clicking a lot more than Grove City, although you've been clicking pretty much every game so far. Coming in, just kind of looking at where you guys started when you guys all came in for camp and where you are now, how do you feel about the position you see the team as a whole in?
I think we're in a pretty good position. Obviously, coming in, we had a lot of guys who left, a lot of household names who left, but seeing where we are now from camp, we're a group that's constantly improving. I think we don't have all the household names, but we got a lot of ball players in our club still. I think we're in a position where we had a lot of young guys, but we're getting better every single week, every single day of practice. So we're in a really good position right now.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because I remember when you were the young guy and now here you are a leader. Do you kind of feel that pressure now to be a leader on the offense, being the running back, being, the older guy now?
I don't think it's pressure. I think it's a cool opportunity to kind of, pay forward what happened to me. I had really good leaders when I came in. I had a lot of guys who took care of me. So being able to be in this opportunity, I think they taught me well. Coach Benzel's taught us well. So I think, if anything, I'm prepared for this.
Awesome. And then, when you look at, leadership positions on the field, a lot of people jump to the quarterback as far as offense goes. And we have a young quarterback. We have Ty McGowan right now, second year. Got some reps last year when Cole went down. But do you and Ty kind of have that, relationship like that? When I think of relationships between the quarterback and the running back, it's super important, especially in a shotgun spread offense where you got to get timing down, you got to get snaps down. Do you see yourself kind of taking that role with him as well? You guys have that relationship?
For sure. I tell Ty every week, especially on Thursdays, Ty, I'll protect you with my life. Just joking around, but I mean it. So having Ty back there is kind of like Coach Benzel said, he's another moon guy. Ty's kind of similar to Cole, really cool, really laid back. He's always on his details, so it's easy to kind of relate to guys like that. So me and Ty, I think we have a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, and we'll get him on in a couple weeks. I'm excited to kind of talk to him and get his side. But when you look at the 2 games you've played so far, right? You got Grove City, you've got Teal. Talked to a couple people after the Grove City game. A lot of things weren't clicking for the offense. It was difficult. Teal, things opened up a little bit more. Obviously, 28-7. What do you think was the difference between Grove City and Teal in terms of the offense and moving the ball and scoring?
I think just kind of getting better at what we did, because that's what we really spent the week on, work going into Teal. Just getting better at what we do. So I think going into Teal, we were just doing what we did, just getting better. Do what we do better, and don't worry about what's happening. Don't worry really about what players we're calling, what's happening in the game. Just whatever we get called, just do it best we can, and we'll see what happens. And that's kind of what we did there on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talked to Bryce Butler last week, and we were talking about Teal, and he always said, don't sleep on Teal. They have a good team. They're a strong team. And we were kind of talking before we went on. You said Teal came out and they played really hard. You were also really complimentary of them. Anything you want to say about the Tomcats?
They most definitely got better within the past since I got here. So they most definitely played hard. They fought for 4 quarters. So it was an improved Teal team.
Awesome. And then moving forward, obviously, as we were talking about before, I get goosebumps just talking about it. But the big game is coming up right here. You got Westminster and W&J. Kind of before we dive in and unpack this game, what's the emotions right now with the team on a week like this?
It's a lot of young guys, so I've just been a lot of the older guys, been trying to get them to understand, like, this is a rivalry game. This is the week that everybody talks about. For me personally, knowing that we only beat W&J 7 times in school history, and being able to be a part of 2 of those teams, it's like, guys, you got to understand, this is bigger than just this team here. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than just this team right now. So understand that this is the game. This is the game that everybody wants.
And you kind of talk about some of the challenges with the young guys. As you said, you guys are trying to amp them up, juice them up, show them as much as you possibly can about how much this game means, how much this rivalry means. Do you think there's a certain element that they won't understand until they're on that field standing across from W&J?
I think just any time you're in a big game, it's kind of that first time you're in a big game, physical game, it's like, whoa, like, here I am, this is the game. But other than that, I think we've been doing a good job preparing them for what's going on, just knowing our game plan in and out. And I think they'll be ready for sure. But there's going to be initial shock, that's normal for anybody in a big game.
And then from an analytical standpoint, obviously against Grove City, the offense wasn't clicking as well. And then when you look at Teal, it got better. Going into W&J, obviously the offense is going to have to be clicking. As Coach Benzel said, you're going to have to play complementary football. Both sides are going to have to be going. From your perspective, what's it going to take to have the offense looking more like it did against Teal versus Grove City?
Just do what we do, as in run the ball, and then when we need to pass and throw the ball, we're going to need to do that, need to protect, myself included, help the O-line whenever I need to. So I think as long as we run the ball and we do our game, play our game plan, we're going to be all right.
And then kind of looking at your O-line and how those guys are kind of gelling together. Obviously, last year was difficult losing guys. You like where the O-line is right now as a running back? They're holding your life in their hands right now.
They're a really cool unit to see.
Yeah.
Even starting in camp, they're always doing everything together, going to yoga together, going to, showering, like after practice, they'll wait for each other to shower and stuff like that. So everybody's they're a really close unit, I'll leave dinner and I'll see the O-line walking up together, all 5, 6 of them. You got the 2s with them as well.
Yeah.
So it's they're a really close unit. So to see where they are right now, it's exciting, and I'm proud of those guys to see where they are.
And that's what you want. And then my final question for you today, Ryan, going down to W&J this weekend, in general, offense, defense, special teams, what's just a couple things that are going to have to go right in order for us to take the win back to New Wilmington?
Just play a complete football game, offense, defense, special teams. Everybody has to do their job. As long as we do that, and we got to be consistent throughout, not just the first half, first quarter. We got to play a full football game, full 4 quarters. So as long as we play a full 4 quarters and do our thing, we'll be okay.
Fantastic. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Gomes, we appreciate you very much. I'm Marcus Tokar. We'll see you next week on Coach's Corner.